finally went to my boss at the time and I said, hey man, if you put me at ADVs one more night, I'm quitting. Like I need to be put somewhere where I can run the account. I have sales experience. I wouldn't say I'm better than a valet, but I can run a team. I can definitely help out and do well.
Thanks for checking out today's episode of The Experience Curve, where we explore the personal journeys of accomplished individuals, breaking down the steps they took to get where they are, which I hope just might inspire you on your own path forward. On today's episode, I am joined by Hunter Burkey, a visionary entrepreneur who defied the odds to build multiple successful businesses. Throughout this episode, we'll uncover the surprising catalysts that ignite anyone's journey from adversity to achievement. We'll explore effective tactics for overcoming hurdles and expanding your reach no matter the field. We'll learn how to embrace resilience and adaptability as your secret weapons for navigating building a business. And we'll explore the dynamic landscape of entrepreneurship, where every setback is an opportunity for growth and innovation. As someone who went from homelessness to multi-million-dollar enterprises, Hunter brings invaluable insights and practical wisdom to the table. His journey serves as a testament to the power of determination and perseverance, making him an inspiring guide for anyone embarking on their own entrepreneurial endeavors. So whether you're a budding entrepreneur seeking guidance or simply curious about the ins and outs of building a successful business, this episode promises to offer valuable lessons and inspiration. Hey, Hunter, thank you so much for your time.
Absolutely. I'm happy to be here, man. Thank you.
It's been really nice to kind of just talk with you offline and get to know and read about your story, which I think people listening today will be inspired, I believe, from hearing, everything that led from your upbringing to you were in East Fort Worth, Texas, and then to Austin, Texas in 2008. Can we start there and you explain your upbringing?
Yeah. So born in East Fort Worth to a very poor family. The kind of home life that my parents didn't know whether or not they were going to keep the water on 1 month or the electricity on 1 month. And I think that was, and I didn't know it at all when I was a kid. Nobody ever does. It was a fun upbringing. Parents unfortunately got divorced when I was a young kid, 6 or 7, and my dad had to move to Galveston for some health reasons. He got, what's funny now, looking back at it, he got a job as the head of security of the Marriott Hotel, back when I was a little kid. And he had to have a major surgery, and I would go basically down there and see him on the summertime and the spring break and Christmas break and all that. My mom stayed up in the DFW area. We kind of bounced around from Fort Worth to Arlington to Mansfield, kind of locked in on Mansfield for high school and all that. Dad passed away when I was 17, and I took that kind of rough as a kid. It was like 10 days after I turned 17, so I completely self-destructed. I had a few offers, scholarship offers for football, completely threw all that away, stopped going to school for a little while, ended up, fortunately going back after a couple months of just going off the walls, basically threw football out the window and looking back, it's like, hey, I'm everything works out for a reason. Everything happens, as it does. Bounced around on some jobs here and there in the Fort Worth area. I became actually the youngest inside salesperson of American Racing. It's a wholesale wheel and tire distributor, and I was the youngest person in the history of their company to become inside sales. I went from warehouse to salesperson. That was really cool. That was really fun. They eventually got bought out and laid everybody off. And after a few months of not knowing what to do and being a young dumbass and not saving any money, I ended up being homeless. All I had was my car, clothes in the car, and a laptop. And I would live out of my car, and that went on for a few months, I guess about 6 or 7 months. And what I would do was I would park at hotels that had free continental breakfast. And I would get up in the morning and go inside like I was staying there, and I would eat, and I would get on my computer and try to find a job and, try to make it. And I went through a couple jobs here and there and wasn't the best employee. I got one of them, I got fired from a Firestone because, and I won't say any names, but the manager was basically trying to have me do what everybody always fears, which is you go get your car serviced and they lie to you about, what you need done. And I wouldn't do it. I didn't feel right about it. I couldn't tell somebody they needed something they didn't need. So I shortly got terminated from that position. And I had a friend who was actually going to UT, University of Texas in Austin. and he was working as a valet, and he asked me to come down one weekend just to kind of hang out. And second I got to Austin, I knew that's where I wanted to be, and he was able to get me a job that night and kind of go from there, you know.
So this is like 2008. You come down to Austin. You're doing valet.
Yes, sir. Yeah. So I went to Austin in 2008. Like I said, the night I got there, my friend was like, "Hey, I can get you a job valeting. You can sleep on my couch until you get it figured out." So I immediately got a job working as a valet. We were working at the Eddie V's restaurant right there in the middle of downtown Austin. And from a valet standpoint, it was one of the worst accounts you could work, only because you ran like 8 miles a night. You know, like it was just constant back and forth. And you know, the money was okay, and I was in the best shape of my life, obviously running around everywhere. But after a few months of doing that, not saving a dime, because we would make money at the account and then we'd go out and have fun at night, and then I would, you know, still be every night sleeping on my friend's couch. So after a few months of that, I finally, you know, started trying to wrangle it in and focus on growing and getting better. And I finally went to my boss at the time and I said, "Hey man, if you put me at ADV's one more night, I'm quitting. You know, like I need to be put somewhere where I can run the account. You know, I have sales experience. I wouldn't say I'm better than a valet, but I can run a team. You know, I can definitely help out and do well." He said, "Man, all I got is this one restaurant. It's in downtown Austin called Parkside." And he said, "I got this one restaurant, but nobody wants to work there. You know, everybody, for whatever reason, can't stand the owner. He's a, you know, he rubs everybody the wrong way." And I said, "I don't care. You know, I don't care. Put me there. I'll make it work." And sure enough, he puts me over at Parkside. I meet the owner, and he lived up to his reputation. You know, he was kind of hard to get along with at first, but a couple months into it, we were awesome. We were not best of friends, but we worked really well together. I was their main guy there, and we had a great relationship. And he's actually one that kind of gave us our start to open up our own valet company a few years later.
I mean, would you consider him like maybe a mentor of sorts, but someone that you're able to go with this sales experience and say like, "Hey, like I'm kind of worth, I know what you're, you know, where I'm at, but I'm kind of worth a little more than I think I can grow this company, right? I can do better than my circumstances." And obviously you're very motivated to be, you know, doing what you were doing on a laptop right before you even got down there every morning. So how does that sort of like, did that plant a seed for you to like, okay, I just have this entrepreneurial bug, or like, how does it sort of transpire from that? Or does he give you an opportunity to kind of run with?
Well, yeah, and you know, the entrepreneurial bug. I mean, I've so like I was saying earlier, I kind of grew up in a not so wealthy, you know, a not so well to do family life. But as I got older, I watched my mom grow her own business, and she opened a custom home building company right around the time that I was about to move to Austin, and I watched her grow this business. And she married my stepdad, who the same thing. I watched him grow a business that he just sold a few years ago, and you know, it was kind of in my it was in my blood. It was in my family. You know, my dad opened up a driving range in Galveston, top of working at the Marriott. You know, he didn't make any money, but he was, you know, he opened it and had a business. So I always kind of had that bug and that itch of wanting to own my own business and be my own boss and kind of be in, you know, charge of my life kind of thing. So I always wanted that. And we always kind of make a joke. So I have a business partner. He oversees the valet now, and we can get out in a minute. But you know, we were lifelong friends. Well, I guess since the time we were like 14, 15 years old. And we make a joke that we started the first like Favor, DoorDash, Uber Eats kind of thing. And it was way before cell phones or, you know, smartphones and all that stuff. And we started a company called Go To Guys. And what it was, we made these flyers and we went and passed them out in all the fancy neighborhoods and retirement communities and all this stuff. And it was basically, you know, you need your groceries picked up, you need your yard done, you need this, you need that, anything you need, we're the go-to guys. You know, we tried to get that rolling, and we got a few landscaping jobs out of it, and it just, you know, didn't work out. But yeah, I always wanted to be an entrepreneur and try to make something work. And with the valet side of it, we kind of fell into it, but it was somewhat purposely. So like I was saying, the owner of Parkside, his name's Sean. He could be considered a mentor for us. You know, we got to watch him and be around him start from one restaurant, Parkside. He opened up another restaurant, and then another one and another one. And, you know, he kind of grew as we were there. And before we started the valet company, my business partner and I, his name is Andis, and he was in the same boat I was. in about 2010, 2011, where he, had nowhere to go, needed a couch to sleep on. He was living in the DFW area. And I offered him the same offer that my friend offered me years before. I said, hey, come down here and get you a job valeting. You can live on my couch and, we can make it work. Well, when he got down to Austin, our plan was, hey, let's get our real estate license and let's try to, eventually work up to, have our own brokerage, right? So we were in the middle of doing real estate school, and the owner of Parkside, his name's Sean, he opened another restaurant called Olive and June. And when he opened that second restaurant, he basically, gave us the opportunity to where, hey, Hunter, do you want to stay in downtown or do you want to go to, my new restaurant? And I was like, no, give that to Andis. He's got it. My spot's downtown. I know everybody around here. I know all the bar owners and restaurant owners, and it's kind of my spot. And a few months after Andis took over Olive and June and I was still at Parkside, Sean came to us and said, hey, I love you guys. I don't necessarily like the company you work for, and I'm thinking about making a change. Do you guys think you could open up your own valet company? And we had to, sit back and kind of look at it. And we were like, hey, we need 6 months, right? We need this much time to be able to save up money for insurance and valet podiums and uniforms and, try to get people to work for us. And he gave us that 6 month window. And sure enough, when that 6 months came around, we said, hey, we're ready to go. We had a start date set up for the day after South by Southwest. And we started with him. The company was officially opened in December 2012. We opened for business April 1st of 2013. And then, the rest is history with the valet side.
Wow, that's pretty interesting. So, did you have like any uncertainties or doubts or fears? I mean, obviously, like you said, on one hand, you come from that line of business owners, but you also seem like the kind of guy that's like, dude, you're kind of taking whatever's handed to you and making it work.
And yeah, we had to be like that. And there was a lot of uncertainty. We were flat broke, and somehow we're able to save up enough money to even get the company rolling. We didn't know anything about the taxes and the permits and all these things that we had to run into, then start having to pay employees. And, it went from when we first started, we were working 7 days a week at the account at night and 7 days a week at home on the computer, trying to figure out what we're doing and trying to grow and figure out, if we need to, try to get a loan or anything like that. We never got a loan. We never got any kind of line of credit. We did everything out of pocket. And still to this day, it's pretty much been like that, other than the PPO or the PPP loans when our business shut down for 7 months during COVID. But yeah, there's a lot of uncertainty, man. And it's, it's for whatever reason, I find that fun, like I love the problems, I love the uncertainty. I love the problems because it's like, hey, let's make it work, and I don't remember who said it, but I saw a quote not long ago and it resonated with me. And he said, hey, instead of looking at these problems like, hey, we're not going to be able to do this, look at it like, hey, no one else is going to be able to do this. Like, and that's how I look at every situation, is, hey, yeah, this is tough. And, where we are now as a business, there's a lot of new avenues and new routes that we're going. And it's all, some of it's, a whole new world for us, but it's like, hey, I want these problems. I want to figure this out. I want to get good at it because I know I'm confident that no one else can do all the things that we're doing. And the harder it is, the better it is for us, and that's kind of how I look at everything,
Yeah, yeah. So he gives you this opportunity, and you're okay. We need the 6 months, and then we open up, and you said the day after South by Southwest. How does it go from there? Like, obviously, you've scaled this, and we'll get to that in a little while. But like in the beginning, right? Like, how is it? What's it like for you? Are you like, all right, man? Like, now I have to be this sort of business owner when you were just used to being, more the employee side, but you knew you were worth more than that.
Yeah, no, it's kind of a crazy story as well. So yeah, we started with just the two restaurants with Parkside and Olive and June. We had a few events here and there. A lot of people hire event valet for weddings or, corporate events or whatever. And funny story, when we quoted our first event, we didn't know what we were doing as far as the quote. And I remember the person the host of the event that was quoting us, thankfully wrote us back and said, hey, thanks for your quote, but you guys are like 4 times the amount of anybody else that we quoted. So we had no idea what we were doing. Like, well, how does that make sense? Like, what do we got to do? So we had to figure that out, and all that. I guess it was about a year, almost a year and a half of us just having those two restaurants and being owner operated 100%, where we barely had days off. We weren't to a point of, any kind of delegation or any kind of anything. It was like, hey, no, we're 100% working and 100% working on both sides of it, and it was about a year, almost a year and a half. There's a restaurant, I'm not sure if you're familiar. It's called Uchi. They started in Austin. But they're now in Austin, Houston, Dallas, Denver, LA, Miami, all these places. Well, at the time, he was the GM of the restaurant. His name was John Baydale. He knew me just from being a customer at Parkside. So he would come by and eat Parkside every few weeks, and I'd always be there, and he kind of knew who I was. He came in one night and realized that my uniform was different. We were in red at the time. The next level valet was red. And the company I worked for previous was blue. So he showed up and he saw all these new shirts. He was like, oh, new uniforms, that's cool. And he used the same company that we used to work for and for his restaurant. And at the time they had just two. They had Uchi and Uchiko in Austin, and they had Uchi in Houston. And he showed up, saw the new uniforms, and said, hey, new uniforms, this is great. And I said, no, new company. We took over the restaurant here in Olive and June. And he was like, really? And I was like, yes, sir. And he was like, hey, you got a card? Like, I want to talk to you guys. So we gave him a card. I guess actually it was about a year, because a year and a half later, we ended up going with him. But so almost a year into it, we have that conversation. And then it takes about 9 months of meetings back and forth. They wanted to come talk and see what we're doing and this and that. And then finally, he came to us at the end of 2013 and said, hey, I want you guys to take over my restaurants, but you have to take over the restaurant in Houston as well. Can you guys do that? And we kind of faked it till we make it. And we're like, absolutely. We can 100% do it, yada, yada, yada. So that night we drove straight to Houston after work to check out the location, check out the account, see what was happening, see how many cars they parked. And the restaurants we were at in Austin at the time, a busy night for us was like 50 cars. Most of the time we were parking 20 or 30 a night. So 50 cars was a busy night. Well, the restaurant in Houston, where we had zero staff, zero anything, they were parking 200-300 a night, because it was not only that restaurant, but it was also a nightclub next to it and a coffee shop and all this stuff. And we had to take over the valet for all of it if we were going to have Uchi in Austin. So we went straight there, saw this monster of an account, and just said, hey, we got to make this work. Let's figure it out, and we went back to Austin. We told them, hey, yeah, hell yeah, we can do it. We can take it over. We can make it work. And they thankfully believed us, and we were thankfully be able to make it work. We were able to hire a manager in Houston. We were able to send one of our guys from Austin to Houston, thankfully, and then put out hiring ads in Houston, started having to do that whole process. And then on January 2nd of 2014, we took over the Uchi and Uchiko in Austin, and then the Uchi in Houston. And that was a big deal, and even still at the time, Uchi's one of the best restaurants in the country. And they, like I said, they're everywhere now. They got some big investors, and they're huge. But they started at those locations with us, and that was 2014. And I'd say, I guess it was a year or so later, then they opened up in Dallas. Then they opened up in Denver. We went with them to Dallas. We went with them to Denver. And we were there with them in Denver until COVID. And then, COVID kind of kicked us out of the state. Denver, it was hit hard for Denver as far as restaurants and all that. And it just, we had an apartment in Denver that we set up with our managers and stuff. And it stopped making sense for us to be there. And it was a really slow valet account as it was in Denver anyway. Denver's it's like the highest per capita city in the country that utilizes like public transportation. So it didn't make sense for us to be there. But then they opened up in Miami. We tried to be out in Miami with them. It just didn't make sense or work. And then, they opened up in LA and all this stuff. So we only take care of the restaurants here in Texas. And yeah, it because of those names and because of those restaurants, we started getting a bunch of other restaurants coming to us and a bunch of other big events and event coordinating companies that would say, hey, well, you're the valets for Uchi and Parkside and this and that. Like, yeah, we want y'all to be at our spot. And that's kind of how the valet kind of exploded. And shortly before COVID, we took over the management of the biggest garage in downtown Austin called the Littlefield Garage. It's got 588 spaces. And that was actually a relationship that we made through Sean, the owner of Parkside and Olive and June. He introduced us to a gentleman in his company that owns the garage, and we were able to, go back and forth with them for months and months and months until they finally, took a leap of faith and gave us the opportunity. And it's been, almost 6 years now that we've been managing that garage. So, and then we're about to get another one with them. We just got confirmation a couple of days ago that there's another one that they're going to put us at. So yeah, I would definitely, back to your original question, I would say Sean, yeah, is definitely a huge mentor and help of what we've done.
Yeah, it seems like you guys are, well, one, willing to just kind of like take it on. If it says, "Hey, can you go to Houston?" You're like, "I'll go to Miami," right? Like whatever, whatever it is, like I'll take it on and I'll do it. So that's like the willingness to really put yourself out there and say, like you said, fake it till you make it. But like, there's a lot that goes into that. So it just shows like, yeah, how much you guys really put behind the work and your name and just your work ethic in general.
I appreciate that.
Oh, of course. I was going to say, is this around the time that you also went into like private security? Because I see
Yeah.
2015 or so, right? So how does that all work into this like valet world?
So the way that worked was when we opened up in Houston with Uchi, they had a very small owner operated security company working the parking lots because, like I said, we're parking 200-300 cars a night. And Houston's notorious for vehicle break-ins and stuff, especially in the downtown area. We had to park these cars all over the place. There's not a parking lot around that you can fit 300 cars in, right? So we had to park it at the parking lot on site, 2 parking lots across the street, a few parking lots blocks away. Luckily for us, the restaurant took care of setting all that up. But from a security standpoint, they hired a small little company that was ran by a gentleman and like 3 or 4 of his friends that he hired on, and he worked every night. Those 3 or 4 guys worked almost every night, and they basically just were in these parking lots making sure that doors were locked, windows were up, and no one was breaking into vehicles. Him and I had a really good relationship when we first started down there. He got into some family issues that kind of had to take him away from the business for a little while. So I was actually early 2015. I was actually kind of helping not run his business, but operation wise run his business. Like I had to help hire a couple people. We had to help with the schedule, had to be able to manage, had to take care of payroll. We knew what we needed from security at this location, right? We knew everything to a T of what we need from a security officer and security guard at these parking lots and at this location. And after a few months of me kind of helping him run that business, he gave me a call and said, "Hey, I'm not going to be able to come back. I'm wiping my hands with it. I'm done. I'm doing something else. I got to move. Yada yada yada." So I had to make a decision, and I had to convince my business partner, "Hey, this is a smart decision. If Uchi says yes to us opening up our own security company at this location, we have the opportunity to do this elsewhere with our valet because 9 times out of 10, when we have a valet event, that host also has hired security, right? So my original plan was, hey, let's pitch it to Uchi. Let's try to put our name in a hat to be a company that they can hire for security. And on our end, we'll push it from an event side. So I had that phone call with John Beda, who ended up being the president of the company, and now I believe he just gets mailbox money. I think he's just hanging out in Miami right now, just enjoying life and doesn't have to do much. But I had to make a phone call to him and basically say, "Hey, you guys got two choices, man. Either you guys hire a legitimate security company right now because he's not coming back, or you guys give us the opportunity for us to get our license, our insurance, everything we need." Because we know what's needed here. And I think us working together, valet and security as one, I think only makes sense. And fortunately for us, it seemed like a very easy decision for them. And they said, "Hey, yeah, absolutely. We love the way you guys have operated with our restaurants, with the valet. We'll trust you to get this going." So, that took a few months to get the insurance and the licensing and hire the right people. And the way the state of Texas does it is, they have some stipulations. You can't just open a security company willy-nilly. You have to have an experienced manager that's licensed through the state and all these kind of loopholes you got to put through. So we had to kind of go through that process. But they gave us our start, and from a security standpoint, I guess about a year and a half into our relationship with them, and we started out at just that one location in Houston and tried to do what our original plan was, which was grow the security business based off just events in not only Houston, but in Austin and DFW and elsewhere. We briefly opened a security company in Denver. And again, that was a colossal failure just because it was right before COVID. And it was a really bad situation that we started off with them. And we with COVID, it was like, all right, let's just stay in Texas, right? Let's just dominate Texas. It's the biggest state in the country anyway. We got our hands full here. Let's just stay here. But, we were very fortunate that the security business, at the time, up until COVID, really, it was really just a side project. It was really just, hey, we got one full-time account. I think we ended up getting a few more little small one-time full-time accounts. Really, it was just an additional service for events from the valet side. It wasn't until COVID actually that we were able to take off and go in the trajectory that we're in now with security.
That's crazy because like you guys seem to have such a confidence, whether it's talking to guys like John, right? Like, you saying like not coming from much, but then you'll kind of go in there and just be like, hey man, this is my worth, sort of like back to your valet days. Like, this is my worth. And you're very assured and like, confident that what your value is. And I think that's really important for like people listening to kind of like take that in from what you're saying to like, yeah. Some people could say like you got an opportunity by way of this or this person, but that's how like most things happen for anyone. But you're taking these things and just like running with them, being like, no, not only do I know what you need to do, like you have to do this, you have to hire me because I know I'm going to do a great job. And it's like to have that confidence is pretty remarkable. Again, coming from your background that you've brought up and right, your upbringing to show that how you've come such a long way. So no, I mean, I like people listening, that's like really huge in my opinion.
I appreciate that.
You're kind of like going into these different cities. Are you all just kind of like relying on locals that like, because like, again, you lived in Austin, you lived in East Fort Worth, but when it comes to Houston, you mentioned a manager. How much you're relying on like local, contacts and friends and talent, whatever it might be, to help keep these businesses sustaining to the level that you expect?
Oh, I mean, a lot, man. I mean, with Houston, it took a little while. Like I was saying, the security side, we didn't get anywhere near where we are now until COVID. COVID was terrible for us. We were out of business for 7 months essentially, but out of COVID spawned an explosion of security and it went in a whole different direction. Before then, it was really just myself and we kind of changed managers a bit here and there with security in Houston, but now we, it kind of also fell into the manager we have now. But, he's a huge help for me in the Houston area. In Austin, I have a great team there, man. I mean, we have a guy named John Cade who he actually left 50-50 ownership of a separate security company just to join our team as an hourly employee. He's one of the biggest parts of what we do in the Austin area, and I actually gave him a little bit of equity into the company, just because I can't do it without him, and I know that employees and people are the wheels that drive the bus, and I know that from being an employee. I know that from seeing how bad companies work. I know that from seeing how good companies work. And if it wasn't for the right people that we've hired and added on and put in these positions, we wouldn't be where we are, and with the security company anyway, like I was saying, with COVID, that was somehow that's what spawned like the explosion of security. And if you want me to get into that, I can. So like I was saying, both businesses were shut down for almost 7 months. We had nothing going on. And we were at the point where it was like, hey, are we going to go out of business? Are we going to have to try to find something else to do? What are we doing? We got a very small PPP loan for both businesses that was basically just able to help us continue to pay our own bills and keep our rents and all those kind of things and keep some of our managers on staff and, try to grow the business. But really had nothing happening at all. Even the garage we managed, I mean, nobody was going to work. So it was an empty garage with 588 spaces that had no reason to be there, for the most part. And so we started looking at it and I was like, what can we do for either business that can make money during this time? What can we do? I started looking into everything and end up realizing, hey, construction's still going on. And a lot of construction businesses hire security. So let's start calling all these construction businesses. We've never done it before. We've never worked construction security, but how hard can it be? And we were very fortunate that we spoke with a company called Milestone, and we still work with them today. But I believe I spoke to the gentleman that I talked to on a Wednesday or a Thursday, and he was like, absolutely, we need security. Can you get guys out in 5 different neighborhoods on Monday? And it it was one of those situations again where it was like, yeah, like, of course we can, like we got people waiting. And, we were able to make that work. And those 5 neighborhoods turned into, 10, and then turned into 15. And then we got other builders from there. And once the construction started kind of blowing up for us, the construction security, my business partner and I had a conversation, and we were just like, hey, one of us has to oversee the valet and one of us has to oversee security. This doesn't make sense for us to both kind of try to do both. And at the time I was doing pretty much all the security back of the house stuff. So it only made sense for me to stay with security and him oversee valet. Cause after the 6 or 7 months, valet started kind of slowly coming back. So he oversaw all the valet and I oversaw all security. And then from there, we were very fortunate to somehow be able to, lock in contracts like Formula One. We worked the Formula One race in Austin. We work with a German company that travels all 23 races in the world. They hired us to be the local team at the Austin circuit. Shortly after that, they hired me to be the only American on their whole roster that travels to other F1 races. So I travel to Mexico City, Canada. This year I'll be doing Vegas, Miami. They're allowing me to start bringing some of our staff, and they want us to eventually be the local team in all these, America's circuits. And, we've just gotten some really good clients, and somehow it kind of spawned from there. And again, back to, Sean, that gave us our start with Parkside. Because of him, we were able to get introduced to some of our biggest clients we have right now on both valet and security. Really with security, we're downtown right now for 23 hours a day, 7 days a week, 9 officers, running around downtown, assisting with Prop B and the homeless encampment problems, and working alongside APD on a lot of things. And, just it all comes back together where it's, hey, this, we started here, and because of this one place we started, we continue to have, success from it. And it's crazy.
Yeah, and I think it's like listening to you talk and just, everything you've been through since, '08 or when you got to Austin. I think the fact that you believe so much in what you're doing, like the guy you said who left another job that was a really good job just to come and work with you, people also believe in what you're doing. So I think again for people listening, like you can personally have the ideas and get them out there and execute them, but having people to actually put that much into your ideas shows,
Got to sell the dream. You got to sell the dream, and you got to believe it too. It's not just being a snake oil salesman. You got to believe it. There was a time, I guess back in 2021, everything was going great and everything with security. And we had, like I said, Milestone was our first real big builder that we locked in. Well, towards the end of 2021, the recession started with home buying anyway. And that kind of fell off. Well, we went from, having one big builder that we were, able to bill, roughly $25,000 a week to, on a phone call, called us on a September morning saying, hey guys, like, we're taking a pause with security. You're the last vendor we called, but we're going to take a pause and try to save some money and put cameras out there. We'll hopefully call you guys back again in the spring. For 30 minutes, I had to kind of freak out, right? I was like, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? The bulk of our revenue just basically canceled for the next 6 months. And I had to kind of reevaluate, regroup, and say, no, this is a good thing, right? This is a good thing. Like I said, I love problems. I love issues. And I had to go to our managers and go to our staff and say, hey, this is a good thing. We are going to now refocus. We're going to not have all our eggs in one basket with just one builder. We're going to not only get more builders, but we're going to focus more on events. We're going to focus on this. We're going to focus on that. And luckily for us, we were able to do that and bounce back from a kind of a mini shutdown, essentially. And then, that's kind of what spawned the training side and the online store side. So that way it's like, hey, when we have that bad phone call from our number one client, we're okay, because we have so many other things going on. And that's the dream I sell to everybody on our team. And I believe it. And thankfully for us, man, I mean, our staff believes it, and our back of the house managers all believe it. And they're, starting to have that same kind of mindset, the manifestation, the look forward to problems, and guys, like I said, like John and I got Kyrie and Houston and, some of our others, they believe it with me, and I wouldn't be able to do it alone. And thankfully they have the right mindset I do.
No, that's great. And you did mention just briefly like an online store training academy. How did those ideas spawn out? Was it pandemic related? Maybe you started to realize, okay, I have so much in like, what can I do that's kind of offline? I know an academy is in person, but an online store is like another, revenue, right? That's not related to like interacting with people.
Yeah, honestly, it spawned from that phone call we had from Milestone back in September of 2021, where they kind of paused everything, and it was like, hey, what else can we get into? And like I mentioned, Kyrie, he's our Houston manager, and he's now our director of sales and marketing and all that. But came to me with the idea, saying, "Hey, look, what if we start becoming instructors for certain things? We can become firearms instructors, we can become LTC instructors." And then we can, start booking courses and all this kind of stuff. So we started going down that route, becoming level 3 firearms instructors, LTC instructors, started having the courses. And then on top of that, we kind of had the same idea at the same time, saying, well, hey, like all these courses and training that we go to, almost every single one of them that I've ever been to and that he's ever been to and that anybody's ever been to, you can rent firearms, or you have to buy ammunition, or you have to have the right equipment and all this stuff. And it was like, why don't we just make that where you come to us for everything, and that's exactly what we're doing. And we're making it to where basically you can go to our website and not only book any kind of training courses, whether it's just firearm safety or LTC or level 3 security licensing or anything like that. You can book those training courses, but you can also get your licensing, and at the same time you can buy whatever firearms you need, buy whatever ammunition you need, buy whatever gear you need for the job, buy whatever apparel or equipment you need. And right now we're in the process of not only having that be rolling here in Texas, but we're actively having conversations and figuring out what we need to be in multiple states throughout the country. So every state that has a licensing requirement for security, which most of them do, some of them don't, but most of them do, we're going to make it to where you can go to our website and pick whatever state you want to get your license in, and at the same time order all the stuff you need, from our site. And basically trying to be the Amazon of the industry, and make it to where our revenue is not connected with payroll, because up until the online side and the training side, I mean, every dollar that came in, 75 cents of it went towards payroll. You know what I mean? So it's just like, let's try to figure out not only what we can do to weather any storm, but make more money with less obligation from a payroll side. And so far so good, man. We're working really hard at it, and that's a whole new problem in itself. Like trying to lock in distributors and make the store look good and get the clients and market it appropriately and all these kind of things. It's a whole new monster, a whole new problem, and I love it. I wouldn't have it any other way right now, man.
No, I believe it when you say it. Like it sounds like you're willing to take anything on, and that's kind of when I was going to ask, like, or I'll ask people, on this show, like, your aspirations for the future. I mean, uh, where is someone like you see, or where do you want to see yourself going? Is it you felt like you said, maybe we're too payroll reliant on, like you said, 75 cents for every dollar that comes in, and kind of having different revenues that are not based on that? And or do you like doing this thing, franchising nationwide? Like what are your, because you have so many, your hands in so many different successful pots, right? So where do you kind of see like yourself in the future, and the goals you have?
Man, I number one, I want us to get to where we, not an end game, but I want us to get to our goals with security. I want us to, like I said, kind of jokingly, but be the Amazon of the industry, throughout the nation. I want us to, and we're actively trying to do this now, but I want us to try to link both businesses, at least from the security side and the valet side, link those a little bit more together. We're trying right now an approach with, parking garages and stuff in the state to where we present a package deal, because most every garage has security and they obviously need parking management. I want us to get a lot more involved with that to where we have a lot of locations to where our parking management side takes care of the parking and our security side takes care of security. And, the client only has to deal with one company. And then I want to start getting more into the investment side of kind of helping people grow businesses. I actually had a conversation just yesterday with an employee of ours. She's a part timer, and she works strictly remote, and she helps us with a lot of the things on our store. She helps upload inventory and helps us with certain contacts and everything get added to our mass marketing things. But she's told me for a long time that she's been wanting to always open up like a boutique, like an online boutique. And I said, hey, let's quit talking about it and let's have a conversation about how we need to do it. And I'm down to be a silent partner with you and invest. And so far, I've loved that. I mean, we only had the initial informative, real deal meeting yesterday. But so far I've loved it. She immediately today sent over the logo she picked out and the name and all this stuff. So I'm enjoying that, and I think that it kind of sparked something in me too, where it's like, man, I kind of want to maybe start getting into that. Where it's like, not only do we have we grown our business to where we want it, but be able to help people build their own businesses and show, hey, we've basically come from the bottom to where we are now. I know what to do when it comes to opening a business. I know what to do when it comes to running a business successfully off of trial and error and making so many mistakes, and we're still learning. I mean, every day we're learning. There's no way in the world I want to sit here and say we got it figured out, but we've been successful so far, and I want us to. I would like to continue to do that and watch other businesses grow and be able to be like John Beda with Uchi and have mailbox money sitting on a beach somewhere with multiple different businesses being able to, shoot me a check. I think that's the end goal for sure.
Yeah, no, I hear you. Most people would agree. How about like advice? Like you're helping this girl with your company, but in terms of people listening that are, again, you came from all this adversity to all this success, right? People who are maybe not in your spot where you were in '08, but whatever situation they're in, like how about advice you would give them, right? To in just being an entrepreneur, how to create that thriving business.
There's a handful of things, but I know for one, the thing I always try to tell myself, and I think it helps, and it might be corny, but it's be where your feet are. And what that means for me anyway is, don't worry about the past. Don't stress and be anxious about the future. Be where your feet are. What can you take care of today that you can do positive for your business or for your life? And if you feel that way and if you have that kind of mentality and you're adamant about what you want and what your goals are, you can't lose, because, that it's, there's no time limit. That's another thing. There's no time limit for this. I'm 38. I don't see me stopping continuing to help grow our businesses. There's no time limit. I don't want to retire really. Like I love working. That's another thing. You got to be prepared to work. And if you want to own your own business and you want to be an entrepreneur and you want to be successful, your goal shouldn't be, oh, I can work whenever I want. That's why I want to be my own boss. It's like, you better be ready to work 24 hours a day, even more so, whether it's not, at the, in the business, but on the business. Again, just be where your feet are, stay positive, understand you're going to run into so many problems and so many issues. Not one person that's successful has a Cinderella story from beginning to end. The people that are successful and the businesses that are well known, and even the ones that aren't, that are successful, they have those ups and downs. You know what I mean? And don't ever feel like, you're if you run into an issue or don't know how you're going to pay this bill or don't know how you're going to get this new product or new equipment, like you're going to figure it out if you just be where your feet are, focus on what you can control, and always have a positive mindset. And that's harder. It's easier said than done a lot of times. I mean, I've been there, but that's the only advice I would really give. And then honestly too, just try to get advice as much as you can from people that are in it, and find a mentor. I haven't found a specific mentor. I know we talked about Sean, and I would say he's the closest to that for me. But my business partner Andis, he's all about that, and he has multiple guys that he talks to and little mentorship meetings and stuff that they do, and that's all great if that's what you need and what helps you. And I'm not talking down about that at all. For me, it's just my biggest thing is I think experience, and then just again, being where your feet are, staying positive, and just continue to grind on what you want to do, man.
No, that's awesome, man. That's a great summary of your life, right? For sure. How about for people who want to follow you, connect with you? Like, are you active on any? Is it your website? If something people want to check out your online store, whatever that might be, where's the best place to get in touch with you?
So you can go to our website, nxtlvlsecurity.com. From there, you can find our store. Training courses will be back on there where you can see them and book those. The licensing will be on the site, but you can go to the store right now and buy, whether you need firearms, ammunition, equipment, gear, anything, you can see that on there and book that. I am on social media, our company as well. I don't know off the top of my head what my Instagram tags are.
Oh, I'll put it in the show notes. Yeah, we connect offline. Yeah, I'll have it all in the show notes. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, but no, yeah, you can find me on Instagram, Facebook, our company on Instagram, our website, all those kind of things.
Cool, man. Well, listen, thank you so much for your time and sharing that story. I mean, it's such an inspiring story, but like you're just an example of someone who just like went for it. And whatever people throw at you, it's like good or bad, you're just making good of it. And I can't imagine where you'll be in 10 years because I'm sure it's just going to be like on that, if you want to be on that beach in Miami with the mailbox money, you will. If you don't, you'll be doing, what you're doing. But a lot of takeaways from this one. So thank you so much for sharing that with everyone. And it's been great to get to talk with you. So thank you for your time today, Hunter. Thank you for taking the time to listen to this episode of Experience Curve. Please take the time to share this podcast with a friend or colleague to help get the word out about my show.